my esteemed colleagues, I rise on a matter of collective and personal privilege. I've always said that I serve at the pleasure of my colleagues, and I thank them for entrusting me with the monumental responsibility of leading the Senate over the past 2 years. It has been my greatest honor of my life as a public servant and the greatest challenge. Never could I have imagined as a neophyte senator learning the ropes from some of the best luminaries of the Senate in Senate history, such as Ed Angara, Joker Arroyo, Miriam Defensor Santiago, Juan Ponce Enrile, Frank Drilon, and many others, that I would one day bear the blessing and burden of the Senate presidency itself. I have given this job my all. Not only have I maintained my untarnished record as a public servant and my streak of perfect attendance since 1998, but I have also done my best to rise to the occasion as a leader responsible for this entire institution and everyone under its care. Today, I look back on these 2 years with immense pride on what the Senate has accomplished and stood for under my leadership. In these 2 years, we have legislated with an eye towards progress and a heart for service. We have spearheaded landmark measures as the Public-Private Partnership Code, the Maharlika Investment Fund, the Internet Transactions Act, the Real Property Valuation Assessment Reform Act, the LGU Income Classification Act, and the Anti-Financial Scamming Act, and many, many other measures that bring a more dynamic economic landscape and create more jobs and opportunities for our people. On the table, we have more economic measures that we expect to pass soon. Primarily the Create More and the new Government Procurement Act. Our first year was led by our mission of national reconstruction. We had to look inwards to assess what we lost during the pandemic and build solutions from there. But in our second year, we could afford to stretch our necks out a bit more, and we could look outward and explore opportunities for bilateral and multilateral cooperation. We could afford to reach out to establish stronger presence on the global stage. In a historic move, we've never had this man or that level of leadership from Japan. We called the joint session to hear an address from Japanese Prime Minister Kishida Fumio. It was us, our dear colleagues, who invited him to address the joint session of Congress in our trip to Japan. And we had the honor of listening to a message from the former Senate UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon in this very hall at the invitation of this Senate. In each of all these exchanges, we were able to advocate for better conditions and opportunities for Filipino workers abroad. And we're able to explore possibilities in defense cooperation, trade agreements, academic and cultural exchanges, agricultural partnerships towards a more globally involved Philippines. Last year, the Senate successfully hosted the 31st annual meeting of the Asia-Pacific Parliamentary Forum, a move that allowed us to strengthen our bilateral and multilateral relationships and tell the world that we are here, ready to partner in progress alongside the rest of the democratic world. We work to secure peace in the region so we can protect our fisher folk and their livelihood here on our waters. We reached out to draw investors in so we can create more jobs for our people. Sa huli, iuuwi natin lahat ng ating ginagawa para sa bayan at para sa taong bayan. While we work on hitting the goal of becoming an upper middle class income economy in the next few years, we also know that ultimately, development is not just about GDP growth. Walang tunay na kaunlaran hanggat may Pilipinong namamatay sa gutom o sa kawalan ng serbisyong medikal. Walang tunay na kaunlaran hanggat may mga kabataan tumitigil sa pag-aaral para magtrabaho para sa kanilang mga pamilya. Walang tunay na kaunlaran hanggat hindi matatanggap o natatanggap ng manggagawang Pilipino ang disenteng sahod. Senate President or not, I will continue to push for the welfare of our laborers until they receive decent wages that they deserve. The Senate has also been a committed partner to the armed forces of the Philippines and Coast Guard in defending the nation. No Senate has been more outspoken in opposing foreign aggression than the one that sits today. And lest we be accused of being all talk, let me assure you that this Senate has been working hand in hand with the armed forces and the Coast Guard in making necessary budget allocations for the procurement of maritime assets, arms, and defense systems. Lagi ko nga pong sinasabi, hindi nagkukulang sa puso at tapang ating mga sundalo at miyembro ng Coast Guard. Kailangan lang tapatan natin ang tamang mga kagamitan at mga sasakyan pandagat at panghimpapawid para tulungan silang ipaglaban ng ating bansa. Of course, none of these measures and budgetary allocations would have reached the President's table without the vital work of our Senate employees. I want to thank from the bottom of my heart the members of the Office of the Secretary, Secretary Ray Bantug, Legislative, Administrative, and Finance Services, of course, Attorney Mavic, External Affairs and Relations, the Office of the Sergeant at Arms, my dear friend, my loyal friend and good friend, General Angkan, who ensure the security of the Senate, and of course, the staff of the senators who are all crucial to every step of lawmaking, to the whole Secretariat. Mabuhay po kayong lahat. I love you guys, you know that. So as Senate President, I'm proud to have led institutional reforms for the benefit of our Senate employees. Mahal na mahal ko kayong lahat, mga empleyado ng Senado. For one, we have made sure to repay our employees' dedication with increased benefits, especially our long-serving employees who have devoted their life's work to the Senate. Marahil ay alam naman po ninyo kung ano-ano po ang mga monetary at non-monetary benefits na naibahagi sa inyo mula sa aking pamumuno. Mabuhay po kayong lahat. And I think we've been the most generous, and I'm proud of it. We have also gone full speed ahead on regularizing our casual and contractual employees. So many of our employees, particularly the hardworking folks in the Office of the Sergeant at Arms, sa OSA, are just one step away from being regularized. Tinutulungan po natin sila pumasa ng civil service exam para matulungan po natin sila sa prosesong ito. By taking care of our own, the Senate has been able to perform better, supported as we are by the great work of our Senate employees. I salute each and every one of you for the job that you do. We are nothing without you. Maraming salamat po sa pagkakataon na masuklian ang trabaho ninyo para sa Senado. You have helped shape the legacy of the Senate in its first 2 years under the 19th Congress. Now, I do not want to make any grand proclamations about the legacy of the Senate in these 2 years. Our legacy is not for us to define. Ultimately, that will be for the Filipino people to decide. All we can do is put work in and hope that our record speaks for itself. And the record, I'm happy to say, has been met with approval. Under our leadership, the Senate has seen some of the best approval and satisfaction ratings in recent history, going back to 1988. Napakalaking karangalan po ito at nabigyan po kami ng lakas ng loob na lalo pang pagbutihin ang serbisyo natin dito sa Senado. As Senate President, I look back on these 2 years with immense pride over what the Senate has accomplished and stood for under my leadership. We have been bold and courageous as a Senate, unafraid to call out injustice where we see it, whether in our sovereign seas or within our own government. We have been fair-minded and truth-driven in the Senate, despite the political noise that often surrounds us. We have been a compassionate Senate, listening to and acting on our people's call for decent jobs, equitable wages, and accessible health care. And we have been a staunchly independent Senate. Let me say that again. We have been a staunchly independent Senate, holding strong against all threats against our institution and against very threats to the very foundation of the democracy in which our nation is built. Indeed, these 2 years, I have come to realize that being Senate President is not only about leading the troops, but also putting oneself on the line. If that's what it takes to protect our institution. And so I have put myself on the line to shield the Senate from all attacks, particularly from efforts to diminish the powers of this institution as the country's last bastion of democracy. In January, we fought against the dreaded People's Initiative, which would have destroyed this very institution I'm standing here right now. God knows what I had to do to defend the Senate. Throughout all this, I could count on each and every one of our colleagues, both from the majority and the minority, whose wisdom and cooperation helped shape the identity of the Senate for this post-pandemic age. But I want to thank my leadership team and those who stayed beside me till the very end. Ma'am Loren, my Senate President Pro-Tem, thank you very much for your loyalty and wisdom. I know many times temptations have been called to you, but you've been steadfast. Maraming salamat, ma'am. True test of character. Maraming salamat. To my dear Majority Floor Leader, pare, thank you for your hard work and dedication. Isa ka sa pinakamasipag nating Majority Floor Leader. Pare, thank you for your friendship till the very end. I love you. You know that. Mahal kita. I will always cherish your support. To Sunny, possibly the best finance chair this institution has ever had, I thank you, sir. I thank you. You know, your father was like a father to me. And I'm happy to call you my brother, sir. Senator JV, what can I say? Your loyalty, your friendship and hard work, which you helped steer many important measures in this institution. Sir, I'm proud to call you my friend. Nancy, who's been loyal from day one as a friend, never waving. Thank you, my dear. I love you dearly and your family. Sherwin, my kumpadre. Pare, maraming salamat, pare. You are a good friend and kumpadre. I'm proud that you're the ninong of my son. To Bato de la Rosa, who stuck it out with me till the very end. Sir, I salute you, sir. To the others, my dear friends, my heart is broken. I am proud to have led a Senate that's been resolute in protecting our institution, our democracy, and our people. Being an independent leader, I gave way for each member of the Senate also to be independent and to come to decisions through collaboration rather than direction. I have never dictated my position on any of you. You know that. I've always supported your independence, which is probably why I face my demise today. I failed to follow instructions from the powers that be. Simple as that. I've listened to all my colleagues throughout my Senate presidency, and again, I listened to them today. As we head into a new period for the Senate, I fought the good fight. If I've ruffled some feathers in doing so, then so be it. Hindi ko tinanggap ang pagiging Pangulo ng Senado para lang hayaan na bumagsak ito. Today, I offer my resignation as Senate President of the Republic of the Philippines. And upon stepping down, I vow to serve as an independent member of the Senate. My allegiance as ever belonging only to the Filipino people. I leave with my head held high, knowing that I did what is right for the Senate and for the nation. I wish our new leadership the very best, and I pray that they will be steadfast in upholding the independence of this beloved institution. I will remain vigilant to make sure that the traditions and the rules of the Senate will remain steadfast. Once again, maraming salamat po. Mabuhay ang Senado, mabuhay ang Republika ng Pilipinas.
Thank you very much, Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri, for your heartfelt speech. We are grateful for your service to the institution. Thank you for your service to the nation. Thank you for a job well done, Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri. Session is suspended.
Well, it is now confirmed that Senator Juan Miguel Zubiri has stepped down as the Senate President of the Philippines. Nag-resign na po si Senator Juan Miguel Zubiri bilang Senate President. Ngayon po ay naka-plenary session. Suspended po ang session pansamantala. Pero tuloy din rin po ang Capital News coverage ng pagpapalit liderato dito po sa Senado. Diyan lang po kayo, magbabalik pa rin po ating live coverage.
Madam President, may I just be allowed to make a very short manifestation?
The Majority Leader, Senator Joel Villanueva, is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Let me start by saying, Madam President, na kulang po ang salita upang ipaabot ang taus-puso nating pasasalamat sa ating inspirational leader, ating naging Senate President Migs Zubiri. Maraming salamat, SP Migs. Maraming salamat. Madam President, anuman po ang ating politikal na paniniwala, saan man po tayong grupo nakabilang o napapabilang, sa bandang huli, isa lang po ang ating pinipili. ang ating minamahal na Pilipinas. Being part of the leadership, Madam President, carries a cost, requiring leaders to be ready to consistently make sacrifices, prioritizing the interest of their organization, institution, or even their country above their own self-interest. And so today, Madam President, I tender my resignation because the greater cause outweighs my personal interest. Maraming salamat po, Madam President.
Thank you very much, our Majority Leader, Senator Joel Villanueva. We thank you for your service to the institution and your service to the nation.
Thank you. Madam President, thank you. Madam President, may I move that we recognize Senator Nancy Binay?
Senator Nancy Binay is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. I would just like to manifest that I'm also resigning as chairperson of the Committee on Accounts and Tourism and Ethics. Thank you, Madam President.
We take note of the manifestation of Senator Nancy Binay. Thank you. We thank you for your dedication to duty as well.
Madam President, Senator Sani Angara is also seeking the floor. I move that he be recognized.
We recognize Senator Sani Angara, Chairman of the Committee on Finance.
Thank you to the beauteous presiding officer. Majority Leader, I'd like to pay tribute to our outgoing Senate President, our outgoing Majority Leader, our outgoing Senate President Pro-Temp, and the leadership team, who was a very productive. I think there's no reason, of course, emotions may dictate that they bow their heads, but there's no reason to bow their heads. Talagang, I think, when all is said and done, when history is written, wala silang ikakahiya. They stood on the right side of history. I think when this institution was under threat, pinaglaban ni Senate President Zubiri ang ating institusyon, pinaglaban niya ang ating taong bayan dun sa mga gustong solohin ang kapangyarihan. To our Majority Leader, thank you for being here day in, day out, late, along with Senator JV's team. To you, it's a very productive team, so I just want to thank. But at the same time, I'd like to also tender my resignation as the chairperson of the Committee on Finance, the chairperson of the Committee on Youth, and the chairperson of the Subcommittee on Constitutional Amendments, in order to give the new leadership a free hand to choose who they wish to fill up these positions. And I thank our colleagues for the chance to serve them for the last 5 years as the chairperson of the Committee on Finance. I think we achieved real progress together, and I think if at all I was able to empower you to fulfill or to realize your advocacies, I think yun ang masasabi po natin. And I wish the incoming chairperson, Senator Grace Poe, is a great senator, a great, very hardworking, the best on the job. She's definitely up to it, and of course to the new leadership, Senate President Cheese Escudero, I wish you and your team the best, sir. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you po.
We would like to thank Senator Sani Angara for his brilliance, his fairness, his dedication to duty as chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance, a post I held before him. Thank you so much, Senator Sani. We appreciate the work you've done.
Madam President,
Majority
Senator
Leader.
JV Ejercito, our Deputy Majority Leader, is seeking the floor. I move that he be recognized, Madam President.
Our
Thank you.
Deputy Majority Leader, Senator J.V. Ejercito, is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, I'd like to thank the Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri for the trust and confidence. Majority Leader Joel Villanueva, of course, Madam President, the Senate leadership for entrusting me to become the Deputy Majority Leader for the past 2 years. And all I can say is that I'm very proud to be part of this team under the leadership of President Miguel Zubiri. One thing is for sure, this team is principled, hardworking, and this team fought for the institution. And those countless nights, evenings, sessions during the budget hearings will always have a mark in my history. And again, I would like to resign, of course, to give the new leadership a free hand in reorganizing the Senate leadership. But again, I would like to say that I will always be proud to be part of this institution and proud to have been part of the leadership under Senate President Migs, who really was a very productive team. And thank you very much also to the Senate staff for your cooperation in that at the times that we were on the floor. Again, to the new leadership of under Senator Cheese, good luck to their team, and you can always count on us to be there, no, as a senator of the Republic. Mabuhay po kayo lahat.
Thank you very much to our hardworking Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you very
Senator
much,
JV.
Madam President. Madam President, at this juncture, may I move that we recognize the distinguished gentleman from City of Taguig and Pateros, no other than Senator Alan Peter Cayetano.
Senator Alan Peter Cayetano is recognized.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Thank you, Presiding Officer, our Senate President Pro-Tempore. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Yan po ang nasa Jeremiah 29:11. At maging Kristiyano, Hudyo, Muslim, ay nirerespeto si Jeremiah bilang isang propeta. At kahit naman hindi naging isang prophetic word to, kung ang ina at ama ay mahal ang kanilang anak, ano pa kaya ang Diyos na naglikha sa atin? But if you look at the verse, I have plans for you. Plans are based on a vision, and plans become vision depending on the choices you make, and choices are defined by priorities. I am sure that all of us articulate it in a different way, but we try to honor God, build communities, and transform this nation. Sa diwang yan, as I stand to nominate a person that I believe should be our next Senate President, I would like to nominate him and give thanks to Senator Zubiri in my own personal way. In 1998, excited, konting kaba, o maraming kaba, with pride as the youngest member of the 11th Congress, I walked into the Batasang Pambansa at a historic moment where the first batch elected under the 1987 Constitution graduated, and the first batch with the most number of neophytes took office. That is where I met Miguel Zubiri and where I met Cheese Escudero. So first, I think the gratitude is shared not only by those who have supported the leadership and continue to want Senator Zubiri to be the Senate President. I think tayo naman po lahat ay nagpapasalamat. So in behalf of everyone, Senate President Zubiri, maraming salamat. We are all we all have gratitude in our heart for the service that you've given. Siguro we can give him a hand. I know it's against the rules, pero so in 1998, even then, Mig Zubiri was much more fashionable than Cheese Escudero. Maybe now, they're both fashionable. Thank you, Migs, to your beautiful wife who's not only caring, who's not only supported you, who's not only raised your children, but made sure that you are fashionable. So we'd also like to thank her for sharing you with us these last 2 years. Thank you very much. So in 1998, Cheese had thick glasses, did not smile, was the illustrious son of an illustrious father. Everyone knew the Minister of Agriculture. He had more fashion than Cheese noon. Makikita mo lahat ng barong niya may red, blue, and white. And yung isang legacy nung tatay niya was Cheese wanted to enter politics earlier than 1998. Pero his father, very much like Senator Pia's father, believed in education. Yun ang nabasa ko sa dyaryo, but later on I found out yung nanay din pala. Yung nanay was also there telling then Congressman Escudero, when he was yet law student Escudero, when he was yet attorney Escudero, you cannot enter politics unless you prepare. So all of his previous attempts at different positions from the local government, hindi siya pinayagan until his parents believed na hinog na yung panahon. And in 1998, his career started. Hindi ko na po isa-isahin dahil napakahaba pa ho ng oras from 1998 to ngayon na 2024 na. But I'd like to mention that when we say prepare, obviously I did not support him in 2016 because I was running against him. If you look at history, there were times that 101% ang support ako kay Senator Escudero, like when he was minority leader in the many battles, impeachments, fight against unjust taxes, etc. But if you look at history, marami din sa atin, and this is not only kay Senator Escudero, even with Senate President Zubiri, there were times na buong-buo yung suporta, there were times na hindi kami magkapanig, may time na nagdidebate, sometimes you even lose your cool, but the friendship and relationship remained. So what I am trying to say is that ang kulang na lang kay Cheese noon para sabihin nating handa siya sa third highest position sa ating bansa, na handa siya na i-lead ang 24 senador, is probably executive experience. Kasi from 3 terms sa Kongreso, pangatlong term na rin ito bilang senador, lahat na pinagdaanan niya, judicial, quasi-judicial, administrative, legislative, ang kulang lang talaga po niya, executive experience. But of course, as a lawyer, and in between his other jobs, he had a lot of leadership experience. But as governor of Sorsogon, and he reminds people it is not as rich as the top 5 richest cities or top 5 richest province in the country. But yet, if you take a look at a short 3 years, again, hindi ko papakabaan, pero napakarami pong accomplishments, napakarami pong ginawa. And the hope I have is that whatever hindered him in doing more in the province of Sorsogon, he will address that as Senate President. For example, the bureaucracy, lahat na lang kailangan mayor, governor, pirmahin. Parating pagka magdadagdag ng tax, national, yung local, gustong bawasan. So forth and so on. No? So I just ask people, if you're watching now, i-google nyo na lang si Cheese Escudero. Kung hindi kayo naniniwala sa akin, i-google nyo yung picture niya noong 1998 at i-google nyo. So we have a very passionate leader. We have a very fashionate leader. But we also have a very prepared leader kung magkakaisa tayo at sana po'y magkaisa tayo. So Madam Senate President, Madam Chair, may I, with all humility but with pride, nominate someone I respect, I admire, and look forward to him being our leader, and I look forward that I will be able to contribute and do my part. May I respectfully and humbly nominate Francis Cheese Escudero as Senate President this afternoon. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Alan Peter Cayetano. We take note of your nomination of Senate President Francis Cheese Escudero. May I hear from the Deputy Majority Leader, Mark Villar? Yes, may I hear the motion of the acting Majority Leader?
I move to recognize Senator Jingo Estrada.
Can you please speak louder?
Sorry, I move to
Yes.
recognize Senator Jingo Estrada.
Oh, is that another motion for nomination?
I move that we close the period of nomination, Madam
Yes.
President.
We take note of the nomination. Thank you. And the period of nomination for the Senate President is now closed. Hearing no objection, hearing none, the motion for nomination of the Senate President of the Philippine Senate is now closed. May we hear a motion from the acting Majority Leader, Senator Mark Villar?
With the permission of Senator Villar, since there are no objections and there's only one candidate, I move that we elect Senator Escudero by acclamation, and that the chair bang the gavel, symboling that we elect Senator Escudero as our new Senate President. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any objections? Hearing none. The election of Senate President Francis Cheese Escudero is hereby recognized. Congratulations, Senator Francis Cheese Escudero.
Madam Chair, may I ask for a minute suspension so that we can prepare, and Senator Escudero, may we ask and request Senator Escudero to take his oath as Senate President.
Session is suspended. Just to remind the body, this representation has not yet tendered her resignation unless you want to keep me, but I have a prepared resignation as well. So I intend to go down and deliver my resignation as well, unless you want to keep me here.
Senate President will preside.
I appreciate his not wanting to replace me, but I have a prepared resignation and I appreciate your statement. Session is suspended.
At yan na nga, opisyal na pong nahalal, excuse me po, na Senate President, si Senator Francis Escudero. Yan po muna ang katapos. So, pansamantala po muna natin natapos ang Capital Politics live coverage ng bagong liderato. Manatili po nakabantay sa Capital Politics Twitter account para po sa tuloy-tuloy na updates kaugnay pa rin po ng nagbabagong liderato ng Senado ng Pilipinas. Ako po si Ethan Vargas. Magandang hapon, Pilipinas.